Welcome back to the channel. It's time to talk about the very worst comic book of the week, and this time Doc and I were spot on. We're going to talk about Tim Drake Robin from Megan Fitzmartin, the third issue of the series. How you doing, Doc?
I am here, and I hate myself for reading this comic.
There's bigger problems percolating over there at DC Comics. Obviously, they really can't sell any character outside of Batman right now, and as long as they have comic books like this Tim Drake Robin series from Megan Fitzmartin, I don't think that they can reboot themselves out of this problem. This thing is actually quite embarrassing. I just don't think DC Comics has a future outside of Batman as long as they publish garbage like this.
This is the definition of shelf filler. The story's generally nonsensical. The art is atrocious. It exists simply to hit a couple diversity checkboxes, give some fool from Hollywood a comic writing credit, and fill one of their spots. That's it. Nothing else about this matters.
There are a lot of Tim Drake fans out there that would love to see a Tim Drake ongoing series. Obviously, we've got one here. We don't get this very often. The character hardly ever gets spotlighted, ever. And people are excited. They're like, wow, finally, my character, my guy is going to have a comic book series. And then they get in there, they're like, why am I even supporting DC Comics? When they finally make a Tim Drake series, they go out of their way to put the worst writer possible with the worst artist possible on the damn comic book.
Well, for pretty much everyone in that Gen X age range, this is our Robin. This was the Robin that got introduced when we were children. He had a long ongoing, you had about 150 issues of his solo series. It feels like a direct insult to everyone that is a Tim Drake Robin fan, everyone in that, kind of mid Gen X age range, to basically say, fuck you people.
First off, we have to talk about the art from Riley Rossmo. It's just incomprehensible. It looks so stupid. It does not look like DC Comics art. It doesn't look like superhero art, and it really degrades the character value when you see a character portrayed this way.
Well, absolutely. Riley Rossmo's art is not designed for superhero comics. Everyone is walking on twinkle toes. It's like they tried to do Dexter's Laboratory as a superhero comic. Most of the time, it's just bad. A lot of times, it's utterly incomprehensible.
Yeah, and I would say this is more the latter. The writing is somehow worse. We open up, you jump right into the action. It's Tim Drake fighting all the other Robins, or kind of clay versions of them. And we get the dumbass splash page with Megan Fitzmartin being real quippy, introducing the other versions of Robin. This was played out 10 years ago. How is this shit still being included into a comic book in 2022?
Well, this is that tee-hee-hee Disney XD humor that I swear to God every single female writer in comics uses because they can't take the source material seriously. Megan Fitzmartin is completely unable to start a comic book without it being already in the middle of the story. Every single issue that I've read that she has done so far drops you into the beginning of an action scene, doesn't tell you what the fuck's going on, expects you to just kind of go with it. And while that's not inherently a problem by itself, I get doing it. It's kind of a classic trope of comics to just kind of start during an action scene, like in media res, and then get you caught up, except for they didn't even really bother to do the get you caught up part.
She's not doing the get you caught up part because she's too busy. Well, it's the other really bad trope that's in this comic book, and I have to talk about it, Doc. We've seen it from so many low-quality comic book writers these days, is you want to prove that Tim Drake is strong, so he's going to fight the other Robins, who aren't really the other Robins, and then he's going to take pot shots and kind of down-talk them and talk about, the problems with Dick and Damian and obviously Jason Todd and Stephanie Brown or whatever, to somewhat elevate, I guess, in Megan Fitzmartin's eyes, the character of Tim Drake. But really, it doesn't work. It discredits the other characters, and it makes her look stupid. It's one of the worst tropes out there, probably worse than the stupid splash page with all the quippy dialogue introducing the characters.
Modern comic book writers have no idea on how to build up a character and give them, I guess, cred without either ripping a different character, especially an analogous character, like one of the other Robins down, or having the more established character basically validate and talk about how great the other characters are. She opted for option number one. Build yourself up by ripping everyone else down.
There is a lot of action in this comic book. I'll give it this. And the entire thing is diluted and destroyed just by stupid narration boxes. She's trying to show that Tim Drake is thinking on his feet and somewhat like Batman, always thinking about what's going on. But really, it's just downgrading the other characters. And it just distracts from the, well, thankfully, I guess, from the bad art, but with worse writing.
It's this weird thing that Marvel and DC have done where they keep hiring idiots to write smart people. It's like an idiot's idea of what a smart person thinks like.
Now, you mentioned earlier that they like to have the established characters build the new character up, although Tim Drake's not new, but he's gay now, so he's kind of new, so you got to rebuild him up. They don't do that with established heroes. This time, the people of the Marina are the ones lauding Tim Drake. They're like, the Robin at least cares about us, and they're treating the Marina like Bloodhaven or Coast City or Central City or Gotham or Metropolis or something like this. You know how bad it makes Tim Drake, how incompetent he looks as a hero, that the only thing in the world that he can protect is a goddamn Marina?
Tim Drake, his ability to protect something extends to a boat parking lot.
Well, and he tells them, like, get into your boats. The holes will protect you. It's like, protect you from what? You haven't even established what these fucking villains are or what they're capable of.
Additionally, their guns, the boat hulls are fiberglass in most of the cases. That ain't protecting you against bullets. Have you ever seen bullets shot at a boat? It sinks a fucking boat. They are not a battleship. It's a little fucking schooner.
Makes the character Tim Drake look silly. It makes him look stupid. Like the only thing he can protect is a Marina.
But then you get into the whole nonsense with that Bernard character. First of all, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I can't tell the genders of a single person in this comic book.
I would say Bernard, to use a turn of phrase for the younger folks, is definitely feminine coded.
Yes. But then again, so is Tim. I couldn't even tell if that person that was on the dock that kept getting grabbed by somehow giant Dick Grayson, I think it was supposed to be a woman. I don't know. The weird scientist-y chick at the end, I think it might have been a dude because it had a really far receding hairline, but it also looked like it had boobs. So I could not tell.
I don't think DC Comics really can have a future as long as they keep producing garbage like this. They don't put out enough good comic books these days to have enough goodwill out there for people to take them seriously. People come in here, they see this, they go, that's what DC Comics is about, and then they leave for another year without checking out anything else because it's that bad. And there isn't just like Tim Drake Robin. There are multiple series out right now that are this bad, if not worse. Well, not worse, because this is the worst writer and the worst artist. But, just as bad. It's just unreadable garbage. DC Comics have a huge issue, and it doesn't appear Megan Fitzmartin is going to be fired when Dawn of DCU happens. And I think this is another thing that's going to, basically destroy the reboot before it happens.
Well, Dawn of DCU is no different than Marvel Legacies was. It's just reshuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. And with no new creative voices, no old creative voices coming back. It's just untalented hackery doing untalented hackery work.
Shockingly, I would say that this one is slightly better than Tim Drake Robin #1. They were both really bad, but if you don't believe me, you got to check it out. We actually reviewed Tim Drake Robin #1, which is somehow worse than this. Tripe is tripe, but I guess there's different levels of that. Definitely check this video out. You don't see it here. There's also a link in the video description.